What's going on, everybody? Long time no see. This is your boy Uzumaki Clan, 7798, finally coming back for his return. And I just want to give a moment to say I apologize for not uploading any of these videos as of lately. Um, I'm technically going through a rough stage in my life. Um, there are things that I've had to do over the summer that I had to work out on my own, and I've had a hard time finding the time to make these videos. And I'm just letting you know that my Chainsaw Man reactions from chapters, I believe it's 99 all the way to 106, I will be doing a reaction to those. I will be doing a reaction chapter by chapter by that. You will be getting yourself a long video, and it's going to happen during this weekend. I promise. I know I keep making promises, but this time I promise that it will be here during the weekend, possibly Saturday or Sunday. Okay, with that out of the way, I'm going to be doing a video telling you guys about my top 10 favorite Stephen King novels. Of course, this is the month of October, which is my favorite month of the year because of Halloween season, and I thought it would be a great way to share with you guys my top 10 favorite novels from the King of Horror himself, Stephen King. Stephen King has been my favorite author ever since I was a young boy. Um, my first exposure to Stephen King was when I saw Pet Sematary on TV when I was about 5 or 6 years old. My mother was watching Pet Sematary on TV, and I spotted her watching the scene when she's talking to Victor uh, when they're in the bus. Sorry, not the in the truck. I mean, sorry, correction. And that terrified me to the point where I'm like, why is his face so weird? Why is he talking? Like, how is he alive? Um, but yeah, that's just a funny story I wanted to share. So today I'm going to be sharing with you guys my favorite novels from him. This should be a fun video and kind of a little bit of an apology for my long hiatuses. And I hope you guys enjoy this video, and you will be definitely getting a lot of content this month in the month of October. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's go to the honorable mentions. These books would have been on my list if I had enough room to put them on in my top 10, but I'm going to put them on my honorable mentions list. Technically, they would be on the list because two of these entries on my top 10 are not technically novels, they're short stories or novella collections. But for the last two honorable mentions, they would be in the top 10 if these collections didn't exist. I know that's confusing, but just hear me out. Okay, so my first honorable mention will be Stephen King's newest novel, Fairy Tale. Just look how beautiful this cover is. This is probably one of my favorite King covers ever. This story, I was in complete imaginative investment during this time while I was reading it. I was thinking to myself, where is Stephen King going to go from here? Is he going to go back to Midworld, or is he going back or is he going back to the Talisman world? Thankfully enough, we do have some connections to the Dark Tower in this. I'm not sure about the Talisman. I'm gonna have to reread it to see if there was any, but I did see hints of Midworld within this book. It technically is not a Dark Tower book at all, but it does have the creativeness that the Dark Tower series had. This book is absolutely fantastic. This is one of my favorite newest books that King has written. Um, I would definitely recommend reading this, and I would be going in depth with it, but that would take too much time off from the other books, so I'm going to move along, but I will be doing a review on this eventually. Okay, with that out of the way, let's go into the next honorable mention, which would be The Drawing of the Three. This is my second favorite novel in the Dark Tower series. Absolutely fantastic book. The characters of Eddie Dean and Susanna are amazing. Um, the character interactions within this book compared to The Gunslinger are absolutely stellar. I think this was a step up from the first Dark Tower book, The Gunslinger, which I do think was a good novel on its own term, but I do say that this is superior compared to the first novel itself. A lot of fans consider this their favorite in the Dark Tower series, either this one or Wizard and Glass. Um, I have somewhat harsh feelings when it comes to Wizard and Glass, but we'll get to that another day. But yes, The Drawing of the Three was a fantastic book. I absolutely loved it, and it was a great way to keep me invested within the Dark Tower series. All right, and three more two more honorable mentions, and then we'll get to the list itself. So coming in on next on my honorable mentions list is Dolores Claiborne. I do not have the book on its own. I rented it from the library, but I will have to say that this was definitely a fast read for me. Dolores Claiborne was a fantastic novel. Dolores is one of my all-time favorite Stephen King characters, and probably her or it's either her, Annie Wilkes, or Beverly Marsh are my favorite female characters from the Stephen King world. Um, Absolutely a fantastic character, great story, very short, very short read. Was absolutely fantastic, and the movie was great as well. My next honorable mention will be Lisey's Story. Of course, this is Stephen King's favorite novel of all time. This was written for his wife right after, I believe this was written because of the accident that happened, I believe, in 1999 while he was writing Dreamcatcher, or he was writing Dreamcatcher after his accident. Um, this story came to mind when he had the thought of what would happen if he lost his life, and how his wife Tabitha would feel. This is such a great story. I know a lot of King fans are mixed with this book, but I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I think this is one of King's best character driven works. Absolutely great. I highly recommend reading it and giving it a read. Even if you don't like the book, at least try to appreciate where King was coming from while he was writing this. Now we're going into, okay, one more honorable mention, actually. And this would be in the top 10 if these two short story collections were not included on the list, and that is The Stand. It has been a long time since I've read The Stand. Last time I read this, I was a senior in high school, which was about 5 years ago. Well, sorry, no, 6 years ago. God, I'm old. I will be rereading this soon. Maybe this might make it into the top 10. I will be uploading this list as soon as I read more of King's content. As of now, I've read 25 of the man's works. Um, and this I thought was really good. It was extremely long, but it was worth the wait. The characters were fantastic. The characters of Nick, Tom, and my favorite character, a lot of characters that a lot of people think that I am a lot like, which is um, which is Larry Underwood. Fantastic character, very funny, a lot like Richie Tozier, only a little bit more slightly mature and much more adult-like, but yes, absolutely fantastic novel. Now let us get into the top 10. So at number 10, we have his first novel, Carrie. This was the first Stephen King novel that I read, and I read this when I was a freshman in high school. Ever since then, this is the novel that made me into the Stephen King fan that I am today. Great story. All movie adaptations I love. I love the story of Carrie. It is such a great book, and um, I really do think for his first novel, this is one of the best introduction novels that a writer has ever written in their debut, in my opinion. All right, at number 9 is my favorite novel in the entire Dark Tower series, and that is Wolves of the Kala. I know it seems like a very unpopular opinion for this, but hear me out. During this time, this is the time when the Dark Tower series was going bizarre in a really weird direction, and there is a scene towards the end of this book that caught people off guard that a lot of Stephen King fans are mixed about. I do know I know what they mean, and yes, it is very, how I say it, self-indulgent. And if you read the book, you know exactly what I mean. And yes, it does feel a little egotistical to a sense um of where King goes, but I do think that this was the funnest that I've ever had with the Dark Tower series. I enjoyed the last two books. Um But yes, I would have to say out of all of them, Wolves of the Kala would be my favorite. Okay, going into number 8, um, or yeah, yes, number. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit off track. Yeah, I'm at number 8. So at number 8, um, I'm going to go with my favorite short story collection from Stephen King himself, and that is Night Shift. Night Shift is a short story collection, and his first short story collection that was released. Um, this has some of my favorite stories of all time. My favorite stories in this collection include Trucks. It also includes Children of the Corn, the original short story, and my top two favorites would have to be The Boogeyman and The Woman of the Room. Those two stories are my favorite stories of all time, and two stories that really affect me on a personal level. So yes, Night Shift would be number 8 on the list. Um, number 7, and this is going to be a little controversial, but please hear me out. Rage. And no, cool your jets. Before you ask me, how do I have a paperback version of the Bachman books, including Rage? No, this is not a real copy. This is a really bad bootleg that I bought on accident. My friend Edward Lorne has a video on this. Please do not buy this. This version of it is not something you would want to have. What you do want to have is this Bachman collection that includes Rage and all of his other early works as Richard Bachman, like The Long Walk and Road Work. Rage is, in my opinion, one of his best stories that he's ever written. This story affects me so much as a person, and no, I do not um, I do not believe that this story should have been off of shelves or should have been released or should have been booted from publishing, but I do have to respect Stephen King's wishes. Um, but yes, I will be doing a video on this, on the review of the story itself. And please check out my friend Edward Lorne's video on this particular copy, because this is a bootleg version that you do not want to own. I will be having his video linked in the description below. Okay, so at number 6, um, and once again, I did have a copy of this, but I don't have it right now. It's in storage as of the time of me recording this video, and at number 6, it's going to be Stephen King's. Hold on, I'm trying to get The Shining. The Shining is one of King's, if not his most talked about story, whether it be from the Kubrick movie or from Doctor Sleep, which also became a film itself. It is by far Stephen King's most well-known story, and it is one of my favorites. This story is so scary. There are a lot of things from this that do haunt me. Even today, of course, we all know about the bee scene and also the hedge animals. If you've read the book, you would know what I mean. And no, we're not going to discuss that miniseries CGI. Oh God, that was awful. But yes, uh, yes, the yes, uh, this is such a great story, and it is one that I will, um, once I get my copy back, I will be rereading it as well, and I will be doing a video on it. Okay, so now we're in the top 5. At number 5, we're going with Misery. I have the audiobook for this. It is up there on my bookshelf somewhere. In fact, here it is. This is a fantastic story. I absolutely love it. Of course, we all know the story of Misery from the film starring James Caan, R.I.P., and the great Kathy Bates. Fantastic film and such a great story. There are things in this that I enjoy better than the movie itself. Um, for one, it is a lot more violent compared to the film, and it is a lot more deeper, and I do prefer the ending to this. In fact, I personally believe this is Stephen King's best endings because I'm not going to lie, as much as I love the man, his endings are not that great. But this ending is very impactful, and I really love it. I really love it for those reasons. So yes, Misery is at number 5. Okay, so now we're at number 4. At number 4 is going to be Pet Sematary. This, in my opinion, is the best, has the scariest premise in this whole film, and in this whole series of books that he has written, and also it is the one that has had emotional effect on me because of the fact that I've experienced so much grief within my life, that this story itself is one that scares me both on an emotional standpoint and from a personal standpoint. Well, more so that it scares me, but it also brings me back to those times where I've had those feelings of grief as well, and thoughts of if I could go back, and if that person that I really care about was still with me to this day. This also has King's best ending, in my opinion. The ending for this and the original film are perfect, in my opinion. Such a great story, Pet Sematary. And this is my favorite cover out of all of Stephen King's first editions. This is my absolute favorite. Okay, now we're in the top 3. This, at number 3, is my favorite, not also one of my favorite vampire stories, but also one of my favorite horror stories in general. This and Let the Right One In and Dracula from Bram Stoker are the best vampire stories ever told, and that is Salem's Lot. I love each and every single character from this book. The only character that I don't really like or love is the character of Susan. I've had a hard time really liking or connecting to the character, but I do appreciate what happens to her towards the end. But yes, Salem's Lot has some of my favorite characters in this, including the character of Father Callahan, who's in Wolves of the Kala. I'm not going to say when or why, but reading this and reading Wolves of the Kala, in my opinion, Father Callahan has one of the best redemption arcs in all of Stephen King's books. Absolutely fantastic storytelling within this, and there are so many moments in this book that really horrified me. Now we're in the top two. At number 2 is Different Seasons. My favorite story collection from this collection of books that he has written. This has Rita Hayworth in Shawshank Redemption, The Body. This also includes Apt Pupil. All of them have turned into great films and ones that I can watch over and over again. And also The Breathing Method, which is my least favorite out of this collection, but I do think that it is a story that has one of his best writing skills within it. I think the story is very well written, and I can reread it, even though if it's my least favorite out of the collection. It is a story that I think is very touching and very emotional for me personally. And at number 1 is going to be Stephen King's It. And as of right now, of recording this video, I'm now rereading it for the 5th time. I have read this book so many times in my life. Once as a child, when I was 11 years old. I've read it once as a teenager, and I am reading it now twice as an adult. So 3 different times within my life, I have gone back to the story. This has the best characters I have read in all of fiction. This is my second favorite story of all time. My favorite story of all time is The Outsiders by S.E. Hetton, but this is definitely second. I love every single character within this book. Mike Hamlin is one of the best. Screw it, I'm going to say he is the protagonist of the story because we get more of him out of all 7 of the characters within this book. We get his interactions within it the most. He tells us about Derry. He's the reason why we're in this story in the first place. And he is, without a doubt, one of the best characters I've ever read in all fiction, along with Stan Uris, along with Ben Haskam, Bill Denbrough, Beverly Marsh, Eddie Kasprak, Richie Tozier, and this has one of Stephen King's best villains, Pennywise Dancing Clown, along with Henry Bowers, Patrick Hogstetter, Victor Cross. All those characters are so well written. The themes within this book of childhood all the way to adulthood are fantastic. Every time I go towards the end of this book, it makes me want to cry because I feel like when I close this book that I'm leaving the people that I really cared about behind. That's how much the characters affected me within this story. It is, without a doubt, one of the best books ever written, in my opinion. Absolutely fantastic. Stephen King, this is one of the reasons why Stephen King is my favorite author of all time. So those are my favorite stories from Stephen King. I hoped you enjoyed this video. I'm sorry if I rambled a little too long. I just love these books. I love these stories in general. They have made such a big impact within my life. Um, so that's the video for today, guys. Look forward to Chainsaw Man live reaction videos, and yeah, give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. If this is your first time watching my channel, I would highly recommend hitting the subscribe button, hitting the notification bell, to get in to be informed of my latest content and to look forward to um, these sort of videos. So thank you guys for watching this. Did you enjoy this video? What are your favorite Stephen King stories of all time, and what are your favorite characters, and what are your favorite villains? Let me know in the comment section down below, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Um, so yeah, that's all I have for today, guys. Take care, and I will see you on the flip side.